Hi, my name's Brian Manley, and I'm doing this interview today to look back on things that I've done in my life, in my career as a performer and things, and also because I'm still doing things now, so I have a show coming. So this is about yesterday and tomorrow, hopefully. I was born on a council estate in Hemel Hempstead in 1962. My dad was a butcher, and he's still alive now, still going strong. And my mum worked eventually in an old people's home when we were about 5 or 6. When I was, I don't know, I was very young, but when I was 3 or 4, we moved to Boreham Wood in Hertfordshire, just past the end of the Northern Line on the tube. And it was quite sort of countryside then when I was growing up, and that was all in the 60s, the swinging 60s as they call them. And they were great fun times. I think they were very optimistic times, the 60s. And my favourite immediately when I was growing up, I loved Petula Clark, who is getting on a bit now, but Pet Clark was a really big force in music in the 60s, and she's not always taken as seriously as, say, someone like a gay idol like Dusty Springfield. And Dusty Springfield was obviously wonderful, but to me, all that hysterical, I can't go on without him, it doesn't match my personality. Petula, never mind, let's just go downtown and we'll be fine. That really suits me. Pick yourself up and get moving. And so since I was a little boy, I've loved that music, that optimistic, clear, very clear, beautifully sung pop music from the 60s, especially Pet Clark. But when I was, I don't know, about 7, 8, 9, I was very aware of the force of Judy Garland. And it's a kind of spiritual thing. So I was a little boy, I didn't really know that I was gay. I was gay through my bones. Maybe a little bit bi now, but I'm very gay bi, if I'm anything. So I had that thing you can't define, that sensibility that when I saw Judy Garland, pow, something happened. And she would be on the telly she was so, the force of her stardom was something. I'm so glad I was just alive for 8 or 9 years to witness her being alive. I suppose if you tried to explain Madonna in 50 years' time, if you didn't live through her being in the world as well as the records, if you've only got what's left and not that person, the essence, you'll never quite get it. And so typically as an older person now, I do mourn the fact that young gay people often don't get Judy Garland. They don't get what's happening when they see her. I think it's because the music's not really pop. It was quite sophisticated towards the end of her career. It's a jazzy sort of thing, sometimes very slow building and with huge emotion, because there was not much technically on those records. She sang them in one, and the faults are there and everything else. And the other thing with Judy was that she used to sing of love in a slightly ambiguous way, so that a gay person could think, it's about me. That man is my man, the man I never got. And I think that touched me an awful lot, and I had no idea what was going to come. I just knew that as a little boy it was really exciting to watch Judy come on at the London Palladium, or she stopped everything when she did move on, even towards the end when she was disintegrating. And it was still, the nearest thing could be Michael Jackson or something in recent times, but that's very disco music, that's very driven electronic. This was just a little person falling to pieces in front of the world. And their hair's just gone up on the back of my shaven head, because to even remember it, it's pure emotion, it does something. But anyway, then we went into the 70s, and I was aware that I was gay by then. And I've never had inside me a problem with being gay. I just thumped the microphone, I'm sorry about that. But I've never had a problem about who I am. I think one of the reasons for that is my desire is so strong. I love men. I love men. That's why I'm here. I'm here to enjoy them and to bring them pleasure. That really is why I think I'm here. I think that some people are here to have kids, some people are here to I think physical desire is huge. It's that reason that we go on. And I think that nature, my own view is nature throws up 1 in 10 of us that are not particularly going to breed and add to the species, because God, there's enough of us, but contribute in all other ways, and perhaps take the load off the ladies sometimes as well. But anyway, so I just knew I had this secret, and a lot of people wouldn't like what was... who I don't really think it's who I am. It's hard to say, but my desires, because they might say, I like who you are, but do you have to do that? It's sort of very complex, all of that. This is very sophisticated for an old drag queen, isn't it? The reason being is these days I'm a psychotherapist, but between 1972 and now is an awful long stretch. What happened was in 1972-3 was I was watching the telly, this little gay boy who just knew that he liked meaty rumps of rugby players, and I don't know, like if I watched Lost in Space, I'd be looking at the guys, especially the dad, because the dad in Lost in Space was just fabulous. Or Star Trek, you know, I can't remember his name now, Captain Kirk, which might, you know, yeah, actually, I found him sort of sexy. I find men sexy of a time when I was a young lad and would look at men. So I love a tie and a shirt and that sort of thing. And actually, secretly as well, there was a guy called Rod Taylor who was in The Birds and films with Doris Day. I think he was the most sexy man that ever lived. So Google him or something. Rod Taylor. He looks like that Australian guy who was old age. He looks like someone else now. He looks like his dad, Mel Gibson. Rod Taylor looks like Mel Gibson's dad. And anyway, if I watched a Doris Day film with Doris Day and Rod Taylor, I would want to be Doris Day. And that was that. That's when you know you're gay. You're not bi or anything else. You look at Doris Day and think, I want to look like you, and I want him to grab me, and because he was just gorgeous. He was up for James Bond at one point, I think. So, leaving good old Rod behind, in the 70s, suddenly one day my life changed because I was watching the telly and this rock band came on called The Sweet, and they were just covered in makeup and everything else, and I've got a glitter picture my friend did. That's the lead singer of The Sweet, and that may seem odd now because it's 38 years later, but in that moment, nothing had quite looked like him. He had a great voice, a real gravelly voice, a bit like Rod Stewart, and was covered in makeup, and they were really kind of camping it up, and their music was rocky but camp, and I just went for that. It just without thinking of consequences or anything. That's why I always have just followed what's in my gay bones. And I love The Sweet. I love their music. Now it's a bit heavy on a middle-aged ear, and it's a bit... some of it's very commercial and stuff. And the heavier part of it is a little heavy for me. But in that moment, I adored them. And again, a bit like the Doris Day thing, I looked at Brian Connolly of The Sweet, and I just wanted to be him. I wanted it, so I grew my hair, and I was aware that my parents were like, oh my God, but they were all at it. Mark Bolan and David Bowie. There was a whole throwing away of handsome Rod Taylor. Rod Taylor was thrown away, and that handsome James Bond look, and in came all this hair and this makeup and a very slippery sexual thing, which turned out to be like all The Sweet were straight by and large. So it was a show, but it was certainly a sort of turn on to be camp, which is quite odd, but I think it still happens a lot now. I think it's somehow, I think maybe young kids, they take sexuality I think girls find it easy to have a boyish camp little boy. It's a fag haggy thing maybe. Anyway, so there's the suite. They're going along, and I love all this glitter and this fun music. A bit like the '60s, it was still optimistic, and it's dumb and really fun. It was about having fun and not being cool either. I'm not a cool person in my heart. I really am a shout hooray person, and so I go through this glittery period, and somehow the glittery side of me is in the flow in that moment. So maybe I'm 12 or 13 and I've got long fluffy hair, but everybody does. But I think they're just copying, a lot of them. A lot of the young boys are copying something, and I'm actually, a bit of backcombing on mine, And then that changed, and it started to go into the punk rock era, which was a complete anti to my essence, my sense of everything. But just at that time, I rediscovered Judy Garland, who was dead, and I rediscovered something to sing about, wanting to be a singer, and it began to grow from me. And so I've got this mesh of loving optimistic 60s music, which I'll say, I think those tunes are some of the best of the century. This rock and roll thing too, and big harmonic harmonies and stuff. And then I've got this something, and I can't explain it, that I really got Judy Garland. I got it. I think you're a little gay boy sitting in your bedroom and someone is singing a heartbreaking song about being lonely and lost, and you're sitting in your bedroom at 13 or 14 thinking, Christ, get me out of here. Get me out of here. It's a long time ago now, and it's the truth. My mum and dad used to row a lot. My mum's a sweetheart, so I'll let you make up your mind where that was coming from. And I think my dad found life hard, used to get pissed and come home and take it out on just about everybody. I was at school. By now it was really showing. All the hair was cut and I've still got my fluffy hair, and all that moment was gone, and I felt like the tide had gone out, and there is this person, this fluffy person. They used to call me Purdy at school because Joanna Lumley played Purdy in the New Avengers, and we had the same haircut. It was very hard, and my heart always feels for all young gay people. All people, but all young, my tribe is gay people, and all young gay kids who are at school. Kids can be bastards. Thank goodness it doesn't go on forever. It's an artificial thing to shove a load of human beings, especially little ones, together in this place. It's like sheep. I should never have been there. I was stuck every day. It was dreadful. I was bullied. I was hit, punched. I was trashed, and it really lowered and lowered and lowered me. But on the outside, I still had that thing. It was more and more fake. It was more and more propped up with little things, because underneath I was very sad and I was very frightened, so frightened. I really do, when young kids are at school and they've got nowhere to go. You can't take it home. No one's particularly interested. How do you explain that they're hitting me because I'm gay? I couldn't quite I've never quite got my head around that. I really haven't. Why you want to be physically, cruel is something that is not in my bones. So I can't quite access what goes through someone's head to want to hurt. I can see it in a way that jealousy and things, I have those feelings sometimes, say I want to kill them, but actually no. It's very hard to remember it, and